Oh, hey.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited, you guys, to be bringing the second episode of Manifestation Nation to you. And today we have an amazing woman who happens to be my aunt, but put some respect on her, okay? She is an author, a whole author, okay? So I'm so excited. For people who have never watched any of the Manifestation Nation videos, I'll just give you a brief little sum about what the show is about. So this is just a platform or like a show where I bring on people who are in my circle who are doing amazing things. So in the first episode, I had my friend who's a fashion designer, and she talks about like, running that kind of business. And now we have someone who is an author. So this is really, really exciting because this is my first interview with an author. And I really hope that you guys will feel inspired and just learn so much from this amazing woman. So before I go, on and on and on and on talking, how about you introduce yourself to the people?
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me here, Michelle. I'm so honored to be here. They call me Evelyn. Well, they call me Lynn. Most of my friends call me Lynn. So yeah, a little bit about myself. I am an accountant. I studied accounting, a chartered accountancy, and so that's my field, like my go-to. I'm an entrepreneur. I've got a oil that's on the market. It's called Maxi Hydrate, doing very well. And I've tried, fashion. It's called Vidas Touch. It's still there. It's still lingering in there. COVID came, everything kind of slowed down. But we're still hoping that if we bring some more things or items, we'll kind of go back up in on the market again. But anyway, recently I just released a book. I'm a new author. I know. It's called Reflections, Pain in the Tunnel. So this is where we're going to be starting. Yay, she has the book. There it is. There it is. It's
Yes.
available on Amazon. It's a really, really, really good book. So we're going to be talking about it today. I'm excited.
Yes. I'm so excited. And even from your intro, I'm pretty sure people can pick up that you do a lot of things. She's also a mom, she's a wife. And so she's doing all these things. She has a whole profession in accounting, and she wrote this book. And this is why she's on this show, so we can talk about
Yeah.
this right here.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I'm so excited. So what I'll do to kick us off is I'm going to read what it says at the back of the book so that people can know what the book is about without us diving into what is actually in the book. So you people can go and buy the book. Okay, support her, support.
Yay.
There's so much to learn from this book. So I'm going to read it. So as she said, it's called Reflections, Pain in the Tunnel. And what it says at the back is the heartbreaking journey of two orphans based on their real life experiences written in reflection. By holding each other's hands, they persevered and gathered strength to continue walking in faith in the hopes for a better day. Oftentimes, people talk about the light at the end of the tunnel, which eventually comes, but whoever says such forgets to warn about the emotional and mental anguish of the actual process of walking through the tunnel. The tears, the loneliness, the sadness, the excruciating pain that consumes your heart, a pain that no one can ever comprehend unless they too have walked through it. When the light eventually came for Nancy and Sarah, Sarah's walk in the tunnel had a mental stronghold over her life, a scar that she didn't know how to heal from and suffered for years in silence. Then there was a gleam of hope that spurred her to seek for help and allowed her to unravel the source of her pain and confront it face to face. Nonfiction based on a true story. So this is the book, and I'll let you guys know I purchased the book. As you can see, I got my copy from Amazon, and I believe it's also available on Kindle, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And I will give my honest review that is completely unbiased at all. This book was well written. I think like reading it, you wouldn't even be able to tell that this is the first time that like you wrote a book. It just reads so easily, and it's so personal because you feel like the author is sitting across from you and
Oh, thank you so
their
much. Thank
story,
you.
and for people who watch the show, This Is Us, that's one of my favorite shows. They do this thing where like they go back and forth between times, right? So you're like looking at the present, they're like,
Yes.
talking about the past. And that's what she did in writing this book. It's like, you're in the present and then you're like in the past. And she does it so well, just maneuvering.
Oh,
It's
thank you so
it's an
much.
emotional book. I'll definitely say that this is a book, first of all, I feel like for people who are going through the grief process, who don't know, how to grieve or like how to go about it, this is a really good book for that. But even for people who are not grieving, this is a really, really good book to read, because just seeing the two sisters walking through their journey or through this tunnel,
Yes.
I was able to
Yes.
like be inspired myself, right?
Yes,
Just like, okay,
definitely.
people have gone through a lot, and if they made it through, I can also make it through. So I learned things like perseverance and like always trying to do things to make ends meet. So this is an
So,
amazing book, and I have to tell you in front of everyone, this is an amazing book.
oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God. Thank you.
So what I have here is I have my iPad that had some questions, and I'm pretty sure, the reason why we're gathered is people want to learn from you. So guys, don't worry, I'm not going to be the one doing most of the talking. I'll just ask her questions, and hopefully, people who are watching and myself, we can actually learn from your journey and the process of being an author.
Yes.
So
Yes.
let's get started. Okay, so the first things first, how did this all start, right? So the idea of writing this book, or like what inspired you to write the book?
I've always kind of been a person that writes in my diaries, before the social media. I've always kept a diary like every single year. And I would write everything that has happened that day, the sadness I've felt, whatever, that kind of a thing. And then came the social media and came the phones. I'll take pictures, I'll record videos, and just looking back at it, it kind of gives me that kind of, oh, this is what happened. And, it makes me happy on a day that I want to be happy, or I look back and I appreciate the downs, or the ups and the peaks and whatever. And so I've always kind of kept it that way. So why and what inspired me to write the book um, is I've always had stories to tell, right? And I just thought, you know what? I think I'm ready. This was like a few years ago. That's when the idea initially started.
Okay.
And then I say to myself, let me start. So I started, and then some circumstances, just happened. Life happens. And
Yeah.
then I parked the idea. I kind of said, you know what, this is not the right time to do it. I'll revisit it another time.
Okay.
Years later, I am in a pandemic lockdown,
Yeah.
less work to do. I'm still, as an accountant, my work has always been, just flowing.
Mhm.
Thank goodness, and then I was just sitting at home. The kids are not going to school. My schedule is a little bit lighter, and I found myself with plenty of time. I'm like, you know what? Another challenge to my pot. Let me add that book. Where's that book? And then I revisited exactly the same title. And then I kind of twisted it this time. I said, you know what? Instead of writing it in a very sorrowful kind of a book, I would rather look at it in a retrospect, look at the back, look at it from in retrospect, and then say, this is now, but this was then, right? And life is good now, but life wasn't so good at that time. So there is a lot of gratitude that comes with that process. And then you'd look at it and you'd laugh about the pain that you went through. You'd look at it and you'd say, we did great, or the characters did great, that kind of a thing. So it was a very nice way of writing it, and I enjoyed it. Was it hard, girl? Oh, it was so hard to write a book. I had no idea. I totally had no idea that it's a different ball game.
This is just, it's really amazing that, like, what you're saying, right? I definitely felt it reading the book that you wanted to change the mood a little bit, because, like I said, as I was reading the book, I was like, this is such an emotional story for these two girls. And then
Yes,
you somehow take us out of that sorrow by like
yes.
reflecting in the moments that you were
In the
in.
moment, yes,
Right.
because you need to be able to appreciate that those hardships that they've really kind of like, you know, um, put you in a better position. They've trained you, or they've molded you into becoming a person you are today, right? And then so that process is not something that you want to forget, but you don't want to dwell in it in a sorrowful way. You want to be looking at it and say, I can appreciate that. I appreciate the process that it has made me the person I am today. So yeah,
Wow.
it is actually
Beautiful.
something that I wanted to do, instead of people sobbing about it, like, oh my goodness, this is what these two characters went through. No, I wanted it to be like, here they are now. This is how life is versus what it was before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was beautiful, well written,
Thank
and
you
like I
so
said,
much.
this just came out of your mouth, and that's exactly how I felt when I was
Yeah.
reading the book. So amazing. So now
Thank you
we're
so
gonna
much.
go into talking about the process, right? So the process of like getting it from, your thoughts that you wanted to write a book to
Yes.
actually publishing it. And so I'll,
Yes.
I'll ask questions as we go. So we'll start off with,
Yeah.
the writing process. So what
Yes.
can you share about just like that journey of writing?
Journey.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, the easy part was when, like when you're sitting down, you're in your office and you're kind of like, wow, this is what I want to write. And then the thoughts that just flows into your head, like you can literally see them as you're writing. And that was easy, the easy part. That was the only easy part. The hardships, oh my goodness, there were bucket loads of them. It was really, really difficult to putting things together. Sometimes you'd have a minder's block, like they call it a writer's block, a mind block. You
Mhm.
literally forget what you're trying to say, or you literally forget the context, like between the two chapters. Are they flowing? Are they making sense? The reader's not going to be, lost, like, what is she trying to say? That kind of a thing. So you find yourself rereading, rewriting, readjusting the whole thing. And like literally you go insane. At one point I was like, I don't think this is for me. And I kind
Oh,
of like, and then I was like, but I love challenge at the same time. So I find myself trying to stimulate myself
okay.
into trying to stay engaged in doing it. And because I love running, I'm a runner. She's a
Hey,
trackster.
look at me dancing as if I'm a runner. I'm not gonna
She's
lie.
a runner, she's a trackster. Anyway, I love running. I love jogging. So it's kind of that kind of I detox that way. I kind of, I love doing that
Yeah.
all the time, like 5 times a week. So I usually just during that time when I was writing the book,
Mhm.
I went outside a lot and I was running, and I would go out with my phone. Sometimes I wouldn't even put music, and just listening to my mind, listening to what's really going on. Sometimes I'll just stop and
Mhm.
then take my phone, or even slow jog, take my phone, press Siri, and I'm starting to record myself exactly the way I'm feeling at that time, exactly the way the thought is coming. So
Wow.
that's how I was managing to capture some of the thoughts. Because when you're sitting down in an office, it's so enclosed, everything is all like, do it. And
Mhm.
then is that pressure, you've got to write. But then sometimes you've missed a beautiful moment, a beautiful thought that just came by, but you didn't capture it. So I wanted to capture all of them as I was going through my usual day-to-day things. So that helped me a lot. That helped me a lot.
This is
In the
amazing,
writing
right?
process.
Because it's kind of like, I like how you touched on how the ideas came to you in different places, right? So maybe
Yes.
in the grocery store, or you were like
Yes.
jogging,
Oh,
and
yes.
it's so nice that you're able to actually record yourself and record your thoughts before you go
Yes.
live. Because like you said,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes you have writer's block. So it
Yes.
does sound like the writing process is
Yes.
very long, and it takes
Mhm.
time. I guess the question that I have is, did you have, so I know you had the title already, did you have like the number of chapters that you wanted to write already? Did you
No.
write each chapter as you went? Did you write chapter 1 and then chapter 10? Like, how did that all go?
Oh my goodness, that was crazy. That was crazy. When I was giving the book to my husband to say, "Can you read?" He says, "These two chapters don't relate," because I was writing probably a chapter 7, right at
I,
the end, and then I've got 1 and 2, and then it's a 7. He says, "How do these two relate?" I'm like, "They don't have to relate. This is another chapter." He says, "Lynn, just leave this." He was literally my biggest critic. I mean, he's my biggest supporter,
yeah. Yep.
but he was literally looking at me and like, "I don't want you to do this, babe." Literally, people will look at you and like, what is she trying to do? Yeah, so writing about the chapters, sometimes I would have a chapter that I remember at that particular time, and
Okay.
then I'll just write it. I don't know what the name of the chapter is, the number of it. I didn't have designated chapters that I'm saying I'm going to write about this and that and that. And then sometimes you need something to rejig your memory. Sometimes you probably have to phone a friend or a sister or anybody and say,
Okay.
"You know what? Do you remember this particular thing? Do you remember?" And then they'll say, "Oh yeah, I remember this." And then it kind of gives you another chapter, right? Right. So when you're talking to another person, or this or whatever situation that has happened, or in music, you're listening to music, it triggers something. So I was really being open-minded all the time, just listening to my surrounding, listening to everything that was happening, so that I found content that is, that is relevant in each chapter. Sometimes the idea, the story is just a 4 line, right? But then you have to make it a chapter. How are you going to make it a chapter? You've got to make sure you remember all the details that has happened. And sometimes little things like even the birds, flying over the house, you're like, "Oh, this, I remember this happening," or crossing the road and was so busy That's a 2 or 4 lines, so you really have to remember everything that was happening. So
Wow.
it is a very difficult part. It was very difficult to do that, but you know what? I did it. I did it. I
You
did it.
came through that tunnel as well, right?
Yes.
Now we're
Yes.
talking, you're having interviews with so many people because you came through that tunnel of writing the book.
Oh my god, it is a channel on its own. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't, like the two characters were in their on their own tunnel, but
Yes.
the writer was in their own tunnel as well. Like, what is she doing? What is she even trying to do? Yeah, it was crazy. It was really
Great. Wow. I've learned so much about the writing process.
yes,
This is really amazing. So for you, I guess you had already been a writer, like you would journal and you would
yes,
keep note of all these things. So
yes,
this was amazing because even like you telling us the order in which you wrote things and like
yes.
having people read it. So we're going to flow right into editing, which is
Okay,
perfect.
yes,
So how
that's
did
right.
that whole editing process go? Did you like reread your own book? I know you
Yes,
mentioned your husband, my
yes,
uncle,
yes, yes.
read,
I
read
know.
books. Like
Yes.
how did that whole process get? Did you get a professional editor? Like how
Yeah.
did that all work?
I have a daughter, Tanya. You know her. So she would literally look at it and say, "Mom, you don't make sense over here." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I do make sense. You weren't even there. This story, you don't even know it. She's like, maybe rephrase it. I said, okay. She would really attack me in that way. And then my husband would be carefully, like, that kind of thing. And I would be angry at her at one point. I was like, you don't understand. But at the end, I really thanked her for that because she kept me like, excited, like interested, like, what is she going to say? If this book is going to be read by everybody, it's not really a genre for just grief. It's a book that's going to be motivating people, for instance. And I wanted it to cut across every age group, like a person who is 16 can read the book because one of the characters is 16 years old. A person who's 84 years old, I want them to read the book because they can relate to the story. So I really wanted to capture all the audiences, and I wanted to listen to her as much as I hated her so much when I was asking for advice. I mean, for her to look at it and help me edit. So I used her as kind of like the initial start. My husband, of course, who would be, trying to help, here and there, but most of the editing I did myself.
Wow.
But
Okay.
then I found that if I only just use myself as the main editor, I'm just going to remove everything. Literally, the book was like 150 pages initially.
Wow.
And then oh yeah. And then some of it, by re-editing and re-editing, you find yourself, you're losing so many pages. And then sometimes you're repeating yourself without noticing. And then you need a second opinion from somebody else, a third party, to read it. And they're like, oh, you know what? This is what you've said. I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize it. So I used myself to a certain extent, and then I eventually went to an editor. But then I left it a little bit too late, I think, in that process, because I thought I undermined it. I thought, oh, I've done enough. I mean, I've done thesis papers so many times. Oh my goodness, really, I can write anytime. I was kind of taking my writing from that point, but it's not like that. It's completely a different ballgame. So
And
I
if I can just pause you a little bit,
yes.
from what you're saying, I'm getting that, the editing process, if you try to do it by yourself, you might find
Yes.
yourself like removing too much of your content or
Yes.
repeating
Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
It's good to have someone who's removed from the story, which
Yes.
in your case, you mentioned Tanya, which is amazing.
Yes.
She wasn't even there, right? As
She wasn't even there. She doesn't know the story. She doesn't know
Right.
anything.
But
Yeah.
when she reads it, right, she has a perspective of, okay, I'm a fresh reader or learner
Reader.
of the story.
Yes.
Does this make sense? So it's really amazing. And then it sounds like you went to a professional as well.
I went to a professional, but I left it for too late, because at this stage now, when you're now trying to do the editing, you've already spoken to a publisher, right? So you've already spoken to a publisher, and then you've spoken to a graphic designer. So it's very intertwining at that particular stage. You're kind of like, okay, I spoke to Amazon, and they were like, oh yeah, we need your manuscript, we need your hardcover, we need your everything all done, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll get it by this date. You kind of throw it in there, and then they lock it in. Now you've got the pressure. Oh, pressure. Like, you don't realize that the editing takes a lot of time. So the editor was like, oh, I need about 7 days. I don't have 7 days. I have 2 days, It's like, I'm going to try my best. So they really rushed it. I mean, looking back, I would definitely, I mean, if I'm to do it again, obviously I'm hoping to release more books. I would take enough time, I'll give enough time for editing, a different person who doesn't know the story to read it and then give me their different perspective, of what they think of the book, and listen more from that point. So I really I cut that process short. I emphasize more on the graphic designing. I wanted them to capture the design of the book and the design of my idea, right? Pain in the tunnel. And yeah, it was fun, just seeing yourself from the idea to a picture, exactly captured it. I used like 3 different designers to give me their idea. He came back very, very fast. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to use this guy. Based in Turkey. I mean, like, thanks for social media. Oh yeah. And then but he delivered, and he knew what he was doing. He designed the cover, and now he was now saying, back to the editing, he was now saying, how many pages are your book? And I'm like, I don't think, maybe can we just say maybe 120, 125? He's like, I need specifics. I didn't know that when he's designing the book, the backbone of the book, the back of that, yeah, it has to make sure it has to fit the pages. I didn't know.
That is
Oh yeah. I didn't know. So at first I said, oh, I think let's just say 120. Oh yeah, we'll cut it in 120. And then now the editing has slashed down the pages. Now we're now 214 or something. I'm like, what happened to the other pages? I'm so angry. So maybe that's why I was trying to rush the editor. It says it.
Right.
Because I didn't want more pages to be slashed off, because he might pick up something and say, well, you've repeated yourself here. And I was like, no, just 2 days, just peruse, basically, just peruse through, and then give me whatever your opinion. If you look out for grammatic errors, whatever. Of course, when the book eventually comes out, you'll pick up 1 or 2 that hasn't been picked up, that kind of a thing. That's life, and that life happens like that. But other than that, yes, that process of editing, and then the publishing, and then locking yourself in a date that you can't come out of, that was another hurdle, that I had to go over, and it was like crazy. It was really crazy. Yeah.
And let's dig into that, because I'm really curious about the publishing part, and I think a lot of people are interested as well.
Yes.
So it sounds like you went with Amazon, and with Amazon you had to tell them a date for when you wanted to release the book.
Yes.
Okay, and then they would then ask you for a manuscript that you had to send over to them so that they could.
Yes.
Okay.
So they have their own editing there as well. They have their own editing they do. They just want to make sure you're not, breaching any whatever, government laws and saying things which are not really like. And oh, by the way, there's also another part of copywriting. You've got to do that process as well. You've got to apply for copyright. You've got to apply for a copyright just to, just to make sure that your content in your book, nobody uses it, and that kind of a thing. Anyone who wants to use it for a movie, for instance, which is my hope, and I'm
Hello, Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry, please. In case you hear my emails, like so many emails I've sent to him, DMs like 1,000 of them, in case he happens to bump into it, I would love my book to become a book, a movie. That would be so nice.
Yeah, this book is actually, it's really amazing. And I think if it was turned into a movie, it would be a really good movie that's impactful to people.
Oh yeah. And you know who I would want to play Sarah? No, not Sarah, the other girl, Nancy.
Who?
Danai Gurira.
Oh wow!
Yes.
You know what? I think you should also DM her. DM Danai.
I should DM
her. You know what? You should DM Issa Rae too.
Oh my goodness!
A bunch of names.
I'm telling you, because I see her as the big sister. I see her as being very calm and strong and very, like a motherly figure, but not too overwhelming. And in dealing with this knucklehead Sarah, who's kind of like in her face, So I see her playing that. That'll be really, really nice. I mean, put it out there, manifestation. Hello.
You put it out there and it will happen. It will happen, Yes. So, okay, so I think you touched on a lot about like the publishing process. It sounds like the advice that's coming out of that is, you know what, maybe it's better to do the editing and all of that and then set a release date, right?
Yes, and then set a release date. Right. So leave that part to the last. Like now, everything is done. The editing is done, which is the most critical part of the book. basically, right? You could write 1,000 pages and maybe only 600 are valid instead of, you know what I mean? So that part is very critical. And then when you have it, now you have your manuscript. Now you can go to the graphic designer. You can ask you how many pages you tell them, how many this you tell them, you know, that kind of a thing, the layout of the book, what size do you need? You check on Amazon how many different book sizes do they have. You choose the one you want. You look for a book in your house. You look and you kind of compare to what you kind of want, right? So if you have all those specifications, then you can run to Amazon and then you tell them, this is what I have, this is what I have. They will check your manuscript. They will confirm if your cover meets their criteria, because yeah, and then if it fits, because they are the ones who are doing the printing now. They are the ones who are doing the printing. They're the ones who are you know, taking all the orders for you. Obviously, they have to get their commission out of it. So you kind of set a price that is, you know, good enough for you. You're happy with your whatever your royalties, and they take their whatever the printing cost and their small portion of the royalty. It's not much, but you know, the printing cost is not even much either. So you still make a good you know, money out of it. Yeah, definitely.
Wow, amazing, amazing. So I guess one last question on this process before I dive into the next question. Did you like know how to write a book? So I know you wrote journals, but like, did you have to watch things? Like, how did you know how to write a book? Yeah.
I actually went on so many, I went on YouTube at first. I went on YouTube just to see what other people have been talking about. And then I came across this like a training, like, you know, somebody says how to write a book, you know, go in and pay this much. And I just paid, it was like a $10 Canadian dollars. And then I went into the session, and it was actually a very mind-opening session. I was like, oh, I should do more of this. So I started looking for more like that. And then I would see, you pick up this idea, you pick up this, you pick up that, you know, because readers, you want to keep them entertained. What do they want to hear? You don't have to be too sad in your book. Sometimes people don't want sadness. You want a little bit of laughter, then you're laughing and smiling, you know, that kind of a thing. And in the front of my book, I was like, grab whatever, grab a beer, glass of wine, anything that rocks your boat, because it's really up to how you want to see the book. You could laugh all throughout. You could, you know what I mean? You could find yourself with a tear by laughing out loud, that kind of thing. So it is actually a very good book. So they give you those ideas, and then you pick and pay, you choose whichever one that suits you, and then you run with it, and then there you go. You get a book.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, I've said it so many times, you killed it with this book. So without further ado, we'll go to the next question.
Okay.
People have so much that they've taken out of this process, right? So the people who want to be writers, I think it's good for them to hear, you know, how you go from start to like finish and publishing and all of that. Okay, so my next question is, when you were writing this book, what did you want your readers to take away from it? And you can say whatever, if you want to talk about themes or if you want to talk about like lessons, just whatever it was. What was your vision for them?
My point in writing the book, I wanted that people to understand that it doesn't matter what life throws at you. You know, because life doesn't just give you gold platters and silver and gold and all these kind of things. Sometimes it throws lemons at you, right? You cannot choose what comes into your plate. So sometimes you get lemons. What are you going to do about them? Are you going to just sit and bowl in a corner like, oh my God, I've got lemons. What am I going to do with them? They're so bitter. No, you take the lemons. You look at the lemons. You're like, what am I going to do? Maybe I need to find a way to get some sugar. Let me find a way to get sugar. I don't have the sugar. What do I have right now that I can use to go and buy that sugar? And then find those little things, get the menial job, get the little whatever you want to, you know. So it is a life lesson at the end of it. You pick up that you don't have to cry over everything. Sometimes crying, yes, it is essential, it is good, but you know what, pick yourself up and do something about it, you know. And because everybody has their own way, life, everybody is doing their stuff. You don't have to say, people are going to help me. No, lift yourself up and dust yourself and look for something that will help you. That's one thing. And then it also teaches you about resilience. I always want to say resilience. It teaches you about resilience. Like even if it's hard as it becomes, just find a way to go through it. Go through it. And once you get through it, that lesson that you get out of it is actually, when you look back, it's like you want to thank that lesson because it has taught you to become the person you are today. It has shaped you and molded you into this a person who has a nice little shell, a nice little hard shell. Sometimes you need that little hard shell in life, right? And then instead of then, you know, crying about every single thing. We can't control things. We cannot, right? We can't change things because we're not the ones in control. So you need to know that um, um, life cannot just give you everything that you want. Sometimes it gives you the things, the bad things. You have to pick up whatever you're given and then try and find a way to make it better for yourself. Yeah,
Wow.
definitely.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it also teaches us about being optimistic. Oh yeah, that light at the end of the tunnel. You've got to stay focused, be positive. You have to be optimistic, just to say, I'm going to get there no matter what. I will get there. So already your mind is already channeled, it's already tuned in to say, I will get there no matter what. Whether it's a repeating of an exam, whether it's like, it's not happening now. Oh yeah, it will happen. A journey of 1,000 miles started with what? A single step, right? Yeah. So if you don't take that step, unless you take that step, how are you going to make it to the other? You can't say, oh, I can't do it. No, the whole notion about the whole thing about that journey is not trying to say that, oh, it's easy. No, it is difficult to do the 1,000 steps, right? But it's telling you that unless you start, it's a positive way. You're getting closer to finishing it. Yes, it's going to be tough, but you are in the right stage, in the right path. Yeah.
I love that, and I like the fact that even on the book, the illustration, you can see like the two girls,
Oh yes,
right?
yes.
I guess we are looking at it from behind, so we can see that there's a light ahead of them, and and pretty much what you said, right?
Yes.
It takes, sometimes it's just taking one step every day.
Yes.
You're taking one step towards positive change. So like you
that's
said,
right.
it might happen, whatever people want to do, it might happen after 10 years. But if you don't take those steps, if you just stay in one position, the tunnel will continue to be long.
Oh yes.
This definitely inspires you that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And at the end of your tunnel, you can also look back and reflect.
Reflect. Yes, that's true. That's true. In the face of adversity or misfortunes, just know that you don't give up. Don't give up. Yeah. So that book, it touches a lot of that. It's not just about grief or anything. It teaches you, anybody about just saying that, you know what, you don't give up. That's it.
Yes. And I definitely picked that up from the book.
Oh, thank you.
I was so inspired. And, just seeing how life even turned out for the two girls, it's like, wow, if they can do it, like I can do it too. So
at their age too, they were quite young. So it was a good lesson for people who are probably 35 years old and saying, oh, life hasn't happened to me. Oh, it can happen. You can make it happen. You definitely can. Yeah, definitely.
That's that. I love it. I love it. Okay. So, alrighty. So now let's switch into the book, right? Like performance.
Yes.
You've written the book, published it. So how is the book performing? So like numbers, if you want to share, are you surprised? What's going on?
Beyond surprised. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing. Like at first I released, the date that I gave you, like the date that I gave Amazon, I already announced it on LinkedIn. So that's where it started. I wanted to get my husband's birthday out of the way because, I just wanted to make sure that it doesn't clash with that, So I released it a week before my husband's birthday. So I didn't even know people had already started buying the book. Right. And then I put an advert on LinkedIn and on Amazon. So I had no idea there was a big community of people who probably are just like in that particular stage. Like they're probably like looking for something to deal with grief or something to do with hardships, and also to consider the time of the economy, the pandemic that we're going through. A lot of people are finding life very hard. They're finding themselves in a position they never experienced before, that kind of a thing. So they're probably looking for a book to read, something to motivate them to pick themselves, to tell them, oh yes, I can do it. So I had no idea. I was literally taken when we then announced on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, the second week, just the second week, we were already on the top list, like the sixth at one point, because it's refreshed every day. Every day. We stayed for almost 2 weeks on the hot new releases of the new what is it, new authors or new books that has come out on Amazon, like top number 6 out of the top 100. It was amazing. It was amazing.
That is
In my
amazing.
genre. It's absolutely. I was like, my husband was like, is this, so where are the numbers? I was like, these are the numbers. I said to Tanya, you know what? Just switch off this computer. I think there's something going on. Switch it off. Let's refresh and see. You see a different number. And then you switch it off again until you start understanding, like accepting, like, it is actually rising. The numbers are rising.
What are we talking? We're talking hundreds. Like what?
We're not talking about hundreds, girl. Oh, hello.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about thousands. Thousands
of copies sold.
Copies sold. Oh yes.
That is amazing.
I was taken beyond, like I've never really, and I was like, this is the book that I was literally sitting on 10 years ago or whatever it was. And then now I almost gave up on it because it was so hard to release it. And then now this is what's happening. This is crazy. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
And this is even people who, I mean, thousands. These are people who don't even know you, right?
I don't even know them from Jack.
Are they like in Canada? Are they like?
Oh, because it's available worldwide, right? And I've got a large following on Instagram. I've got a good few numbers, like 10,000, I think, on Instagram. And also LinkedIn, I have a lot of, people that I've worked with in Dublin, a lot of, networks, right? And then where else? Facebook, it's not so much. I usually keep it for my family, just a small little whatever. But I also put adverts on Amazon, on Facebook. So I mean on Amazon. So those ones are for anybody who goes on Amazon, who is looking for that particular genre. They're looking for a book that says grief or hard work or resilience or how to overcome something that you're going through. So people out there look at the world in a global economy. It's a massive globe, right? So how many people are going through that in that particular? I had no idea. And this was before my city, the city of Powell River, where I live here in Canada, in BC. I just spoke to one of the ladies. I was like, I just wrote a book. What am I going to do to advertise it in the newspaper? And they're like, advertise it? No, you wrote a book. That's amazing. I know the editor. You can speak to this person. She may be interested in probably finding out more about it. It didn't sound like it was for free or anything. And then they featured me for free. And listen, the good part of it. After that, literally when I was released, there was a massive, like almost like a jump of so many people. I don't know, people, I had no idea. A lot of people read. A lot of people actually are readers.
That's amazing.
In my small city, it's more like 35,000 people, maybe give or take. Thousands bought the book. Like this particular time, you can tell that it's derived from this particular the appearance in the newspaper that I've done, so then it's a national, it's a city's newspaper. It's the only city's newspaper, so everybody gets it.
Wow.
Everybody gets it. So some people might get it and say they're curious to want to see what's been written, which is what I like. Be curious, get the book. And then some people, wow, I'm going through this, let me get the book. And then some people are genuinely readers. They want to read anything. Oh, a new author in town, let's support her. That's how it was, like a big, almost double the numbers that I couldn't believe it. I was just thanking God. Literally, I was thanking God.
And I've seen that you've done interviews. Like there was the recent one you visited someone who's in Denmark.
Even the Zimbabwean community, I've done that. And then I've done an interview with Denmark. Another market completely. They buy from. I don't even know the person. He said, he got referred to my page on Instagram by somebody else who told him that I'd written a book. You should buy the book. He bought the book. Again, that community, I've seen Denmark, Amazon, France, thereabouts, large numbers, like hundreds of numbers of people buying the book.
That is
Like
amazing.
amazing. It's
Amazing. And we'd
I'm
like to put in a plug for your Instagram. Her Instagram is at Lynn the Boss Lady. So Lynn,
yeah.
Lyn the Boss
Yeah.
Lady. You can follow her there. And whatever, I'm sure whatever questions you have about like the writing
Yes,
process or
definitely.
where you can get her book, you can
Yeah.
hit her up and she will respond.
Oh yes, definitely, definitely. And I would want to talk more about the book to anybody who wants to talk about it. And I would want to promote the book to anybody who wants to think about putting it into a movie or something, which is something that
Yeah.
I'm praying for. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
And I want
Yeah.
to say, a big congratulations. Even if the book, let's say if you had done this book and only 5 people bought it, huge congratulations for writing the book and publishing it. Even huge, which is not good English, guys, I know, but huge congratulations for, this just amazing numbers that you're seeing in the thousands of sold books. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, my dear. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so I guess we can join these two
Yes.
questions together. So, like, what lessons did you learn from writing this book, in this process of writing your first book, and what advice can you give to people who want to write their first book?
The lessons that I've learned is just be open-minded. Just be open-minded, because if you are trying to be like, oh, I'm just going to write it as I go, and I'm going to be sitting down, the usual sitting down in an office, and I'm going to be writing, you're going to be stuck. You're going to park it and leave it, and that's it. Be open-minded. Have people you trust that you could actually say, can you read my book? Does it make sense? That kind of a thing. So for my lessons that I found that I lagged on was literally the editing part. I designated little time for it. I'm definitely going to put more time this time if I'm going to write another book. And also just know that it's a process. It's going to need time. It needs a lot of time. So you have to know it right from the start, that it's not an overnight thing. You cannot write a book in a month. You cannot do the whole process in a month. It took me maybe 6-7 months to just to wrap everything up. Oh yeah. Writing here and there, writing here. It's not like you're doing it back to back, because the ideas are not flowing like that. You're gonna be you're gonna be finding yourself stuck, like what is the next chapter, holding a pen, and you end up chewing the pen because you're something you know what I mean? So it's like, it's crazy. Just give yourself time. Think about anything that can stimulate your mind. Take it in and record it, and then use it to write your book, and stay focused within that by rereading, rechecking yourself, and seeing if you're making sense. Ask somebody else to do it. Those are the lessons I learned. Yeah, definitely. And then what was the other question?
The advice you would want to give. And actually, before you go into the advice, you said, you find yourself chewing the pen. You still remember those ever sharps we had back in Zim?
Every little, the gray ones outside, were they gray? And the little blue thing?
Yes.
That was the best. That was the best. Like literally, it will be in my mouth throughout, and then my teacher will be like, spit that bubble gum. You know what I mean? And I don't have a bubble gum, it's just a pen, and then I have this thing, and then I'll go to the what is it called, the cover, and the cover will end up being like that, because it was the nicest thing ever. But you know what? It helped me focus. It helped me, even if when I'm writing exams at this stage, I need to have a little thing in my mouth.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I found that it's actually very calming for me. I don't have I won't be scared. I have to do those little things I used to do before. That's crazy.
That's hilarious. Okay, I derailed. We were talking about the advice you'd like to give people who are writing their first book.
Oh, go for it. Go for it. You have to start. You've got to start. You have to start on it. If you have an idea and it's keeping you awake at night, like you're literally thinking, sometimes when you have that light sleep and then you're finding yourself real in that moment, that thing that doesn't make you sleep, it is something that you have to pursue on. Definitely. And when you start, yes, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, but don't give up. Just continue going with it. Take little notes from this video, for instance, record yourself, listen out to different ideas, and watch movies, anything that can stimulate your thought process, and then help you just navigate and just do your book. It's going to be tough, but just stay on top of it. Again, 1,000 miles start with what? One single step. Yes, one
Yes,
single
yes,
step.
yes, yes. And I really like this advice that you're giving people,
Yes,
because that's the goal really of these videos that I'm doing with people, is to bring
yeah.
people like you
Oh
who,
yeah.
like you wrote your first book, right? Like people want to know, like, how do I even start? And
Yes,
seeing how you wrote your first book will
yes,
inspire somebody else to write their book as well. So,
yes. Oh yeah.
just get started. Get
Get
started.
started. Yes, it's not easy peasy, but get started. And once you start, you kind of like, I'm halfway through, I'm 30%. Don't say, oh, I've got 70% to go. Don't look at it that way. Don't look at the glass as it's half full, half empty.
Look at
Just
it.
say, I'm almost there, you
Yeah,
know?
I
I,
like it.
I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Don't say, oh God, that kind of a thing.
I love it. I love it. This was great. So I guess my very last question is,
Yes.
what is your vision? Like, can we expect more books from you?
Oh my God. As I speak right now, I have like 4 pages, 4 different workbooks that I've already started. Like when I'm speaking to somebody, an idea just pops into my head. I'm like, this is a brilliant one. So far, I've got one that is almost 30%
Wow.
done.
Wow.
30% done, and I'm so delighted about it. I'm not looking at it and say, oh, I've got 70% to go. No,
Mhm.
I've got 30% done. Hello, that's
Hello.
amazing, And then I've started the other 3. It's not like I'm going to be writing and publishing them at one go, but I'm just trying to tell you that there will be more coming from me. So
Oh
you
my,
gotta look out.
I'm so excited. I'm so
Yes.
pumped. Like I
And
said,
you know what? I
mhm.
see these reflections as a trilogy or something that will be like a movement, reflections on what, on what,
Yes,
what,
yes,
maybe I could talk about, relationships. I could talk about, some friendships or little things like that. I see it just taking different reflections on different things, So
this
yeah,
is
it's good.
amazing. Honestly, like this, okay, actually, we didn't even talk much about this cover itself. The
Oh, thank
brilliance
you.
in this cover. Like, did you draw this out for the person, or did you describe, how was
No, I described it to him. I said, you know what? It's about 2 orphans, 2 girls, right? 2 girls who are going through a very difficult process in their life. I see them not giving up. I see light at the very far. They're not there yet, but I see them because we're talking about the pain in the tunnel. In the tunnel. Oh my goodness. Reflections, pain in the tunnel. That's how so I've always had that reflections. It's a pain, the process. Pain in the process, pain in what? Because I say the light and then I said the tunnel, that kind of a thing. So that's how the whole idea came. And then the guy now ran with it. It says 2 girls. Obviously, it's got to be it's not a happy bright color. It's got to be something that is portraying what's going on. So he had to show that the light is quite far. They're walking and they're holding hands, you see? And he captured it very well. When I saw it, I was like, oh my God, did you just read my mind? He says, no, I didn't change one bit, except to say, can you let the girls be further away a little bit and then put the light a little bit further as well. That was the only change I did. Amazing. He got it right from the start. That was amazing.
It is brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So, guys, to wrap this up, we would like to thank our amazing guest, who is the published author, Mrs. Evelyn T.S Nwaeze. Congratulations. Thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
coming
much.
here and
Thank
just
you.
sharing, your wisdom and what you have learned in the process. Like, this is the whole movement that you started, and you've inspired even so many people to even write their book and take that first step. So thank
I
you.
see yourself writing a book. I see yourself doing that.
I
I
receive
see
it.
yourself doing that. Of
I
course,
receive
girl.
it.
You have to write it. You have to. I see you, girl. I see you.
Oh wow! Well, thank you. No, this was really amazing, and I've learned so much. And I continue to wish you success with this book and all the other books that are coming. I'm really
Thank
looking
you.
forward to them.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, really. Thank you for coming. And for everybody, like I said, you can find this book on Amazon. You can find this book on Kindle. You can connect with her on Instagram at
Instagram. Yes.
Lady. hit her up and talk about the book or whatever.
Yes, yes. I want to hear from them. If they get the book, they should make sure they leave a review. I would love to hear from people. You see, that's the problem with some other people. They buy books and hardly go back to, when you buy something from Amazon, it sends you an email to say, okay, just send a review. So most people, we just delete people don't have time to do that. I would love to hear what people would say. That would be lovely.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. So please, guys, make sure you leave some reviews so that she can know, like, have an idea of how people are feeling when they're reading.
Yes.
The book.
Yes.
Get it for yourself. Get it as a gift for somebody else. It's a brilliant book, like I said. So thank you so much for blessing us with your amazing presence.
Oh, thank you so much.
I appreciate you taking all this time and just sharing this with me and with everybody else who's watching. So
look at you, your gorgeous self. Thank you so much.
Look at you.
Hello.
We can't even begin to speak to fathom your beauty. So,
oh my God.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Thank you.
So everybody, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe so you can always catch these manifestations videos. And I will catch you guys in the next episode that we have. So thank you so much, Auntie. Love you,
Thank you, darling. Love you so much. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Bye.
Make the circle.